Hey gang, Akil here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Thank you for joining me once again. If you guys are brand new, you can listen to the podcast on any music streaming or podcast app out there, as well as YouTube. You can also check it out on www.tier1trading.com, along with some other cool stuff. Now, I have a question for you guys, right? What if I promised you a 600% return in 5 days? Would you give me money? Well, probably, because you guys know it's me and I'm truthful. But imagine you getting that same question or that same proposition from someone you don't know. Would you give them your account information and wire them some money right away, or would you be a little skeptical? Now, you would think that 100 out of 100 people out there would say, something doesn't feel right about that, right? If it's kind of too good to be true, it usually is. But believe it or not, there are so many people out there that they're falling for stuff like that every day. They're falling for scams. They're falling for these money managers. They're falling for these educators that are producing these absurd returns. And I was in conversation with a trader about it this morning. I'm actually going to read you guys a conversation because it will give you a realistic expectation of what's actually happening. I know many of the audience of this show, I like to think, is a little bit more, not a little bit, you guys are a lot more educated than your average trader out there. So when you hear stories from myself or hear stories from my business partner, Jason Greystone, about some of the traders we encounter, you guys are like, nah, you're making it up. That doesn't really happen. And I'm telling you, it does. For you guys that are on a tier one trading platform, you're blinded, you're encapsulated in this dome of serious traders having serious conversations and, talking about money the right way. But outside of that, there's the reality, right? Outside of that 80-20 circle, or I should say maybe inside that 80-20 circle, 80% of people are still thinking the wrong way. And it stems from a lot of reasons. And I was thinking about this morning because I was like, who should I be upset with? Should I be upset with the trader for saying, why would you fall for that? You've got to be dumb, right? On another hand, I was like, okay, I should be upset with the person trying to scam them out of money, right? How dare you try to take advantage of people? And then I went a little bit deeper. I should be upset with the system. Well, it's the school system and the educational system and what we've decided to place value on in this world about not educating people about money. Because again, if you understand money, if you understand what money can do for you and the realistic expectations of the tool that money is, there's no way you would really take seriously a 600% return in 5 days, right? Let's just put that in perspective. 600% return in 5 days. Within a year, what's that? Almost 30,000% return? Think about it this way, right? If someone is creating a 30,000% return, right? Do they need your money? In this case, it was a guy saying, hey, yeah, this friend of mine told me if I give him $500, here's what I can do with it. I can tell you what, if I'm dealing with a 30,000% return a year, am I wasting any energy over $500? Probably not. And, I'll read you the conversation, let's get into this, but I think one of the main problems is that we don't think of money in the right perspective. We don't think about money on the right plane. Everyone's thinking about the dollar figure, where what's more important is the percentage, right? Because the dollar figure can always change. I've done plenty of podcasts in the past about how it's easy to make money. The percentage, right? The return on investment percentage, that's the thing that, if it's stable, can start producing you more and more money by doing the same thing. But let's get into this conversation because I want you guys to kind of get perspective of where I'm coming from. And the trader reached out to me on Instagram. By the way, I'm very available on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook if you guys want to have a conversation. Thank you guys. You guys got me voted, number 3 most helpful trader on Twitter. It was late notice. I didn't really have time to tell you guys about the vote, but you had about 12 hours to do it. You guys came together as a community. You showed a massive amount of support, and I am so appreciative of it. Imagine what we could have done if I actually would have gave you some notice. But that's pretty cool, and it does mean a lot for me. But if you guys are new, feel free to reach out. Don't be shy. I don't bite, as long as you don't come with really, really dumb questions. But this trader initially reached out saying, hey, are you a Forex trader? I said, yeah. I am. I dibble and dabble a little bit. He said, can you teach me Forex trading, right? So I did the same thing. Yeah, of course I can. Check out our website, tier1trading.com. 14-day trial, costs you $1. You can explore the platform. I always advise that people that take that trial offer, get on the chat. We have, hands down, the best community of traders in the world, people that are very experienced in managing hedge funds and have been very successful for years, and people that are very, very new. There is no bigger benefit than introducing yourself to like-minded individuals, picking their mind. Even if you're on the 14-day trial and you say, Akil, I have no intentions of staying, use that community. You never know what type of relationships you can make. You never know what type of insight you can gain. There's a massive amount of wealth on that. So don't be shy. Do it. They don't bite. Maybe one member bites. Just leave her alone, but you'll figure out who that is when you get there. But I said do that, and he says the response was, but please tell me how a Forex trader makes money. And first, this is when the red flags start to come up, right? Being an educator for so many years, I can kind of judge a trader and whether they're going to be successful within the first few lines of our conversation. And it has nothing to do with your skill or your experience. It has more to do with where the mind is at, right? If someone is looking to be educated, right? If they're looking to learn, that is a positive sign, because you could be a horrible trader, but if you want to learn and get better, there's a good chance you'll be successful. I coach track and field as well. And we always have athletes that just aren't as good as some other athletes, but they work hard. They're very knowledgeable. They make adjustments really quick. And I can tell right away, hey, this person's going to improve. So I can tell that right away. If the mindset is instead, how can I make money? I know it's going to be an issue, because that sets up a lot of psychological problems down the road. Very similar to how I started off in trading, right? You guys know my story. If you don't, I'm going to tell you. I wasted a lot of years looking for the magic system. Even when I invested in a trading coach and a trading mentor, my mindset was less of how can I learn how to trade and more of how can I learn a strategy that can make me money. And because of that, I had a massive amount of psychological challenges. I bounced around from system to system. I basically wasted 2 years of my life focused on the wrong things. And it wasn't until I went back and actually focused on learning the right way that I started becoming successful. But he says, please tell me how to make money in Forex. I gave this trader the benefit of the doubt, and I responded in the literal sense about buying and selling and the difference in exchange rates and all that fun stuff. And he says, okay, how much capital do I need? Is $500 enough? And I said, I believe that some brokers will allow you to start an account with $500. I'm sure someone will take your money. But be honest with you, you're better off just saving some money, saving and starting with a bigger account, or at least being realistic. If you do want to start with $500, don't have an unrealistic expectation like, hey, I'm going to turn that $5,000 into $10 million right away, because that's typically what traders think when they're starting with a small amount of money. So he says, yeah, I know, but, and this is when the red flag really went up, right? So imagine the red flag being halfway up. Now it's fully up in the air. He said, yeah, I know, but how many days to get handsome profits? Tell me. Uh-oh. Now still, try to be professional, right? This is early in the morning. I said it varies depending on the person, but I say most traders don't start becoming consistently profitable between year 1 and year 2. Obviously, some take longer, some take quicker. And that's really the general agreement, I would say, in the market, both from a retail standpoint and even from, someone that's doing like running prop firms. I remember we talked to Mike Bellafiore. He says the same thing. He says usually about 18 months. And that encompasses the whole learning phase, the whole back testing phase, the forward testing phase, and of course, the phase that nobody counts, right? Everyone kind of maps out, hey, 3 months to learn, right? 45 days to uninstall a habit, 45 to 90 days to install a new habit, blah, blah, blah. 3 months to learn, and I'll do 3 months of back testing, then I'll do a month of forward testing, and 8 months in, I'll be good to go. Well, after that, people don't encompass or take note of that. There's going to be a struggle period. There's going to be a period where you get into the market and you think everything is great, and guess what? You get that harsh reality, that slap in the face, that trading live money, trading money that means something to you is a lot different than trading a demo account. There's a different type of pressure there. There's a different type of psychological element there, and if you're not really strong in that area, you're going to struggle for a little bit. And again, if you're focused and you're dedicated, eventually you'll get over those struggles. You'll work on the trading psychology part, because that's what the part that no one wants to work on. And then you'll really find yourself as a trader, and that can typically take a few more months as well. So I think about 18 months is a year to 2 years is a good place to kind of find your zone. And what I mean by find your zone, you could be good, you can make consistent profits, but still kind of making small mistakes here or there. After maybe that 18-month period, you're fully focused, you fully believe in what you're doing, and now you're kind of running on autopilot. So that's kind of what I gave him. And then here it comes. Here it comes. He said, how many days? I said, there's no answer to that. Sorry, but I can tell you this. If that's your number one mindset, how many days can I make handsome profits? Then you probably won't earn anything. And that's just the truth. If your focus is on how much money I can make, you're probably just going to lose all your money. It's harsh. I'm sorry. I should be giving hope. You can do it. Yeah, right? Participation trophy. But the cold, hard facts are, right, the truth is, if you're focused on the money, you're going to lose all your money. Sorry. If you don't like it, turn the podcast off, right? So he says this. I have a friend. I'm going to question this friend of yours, because I don't think a friend would ever do this to you, at least not my friends, right? I have a friend who has 10 years experience in Forex. He told me that he can earn $3,000, right? Buku bucks, right? $3,000 from $500 in 5 to 6 days. Is it true? $3,000 from a $500 investment in 5 to 6 days. That's that 600% return number I gave you earlier, right? Is it true? And he told me to deposit the money in his account, right? And that's the kicker. That was the kicker right there. Yeah, I can do this. Just deposit your money in my account. That's the big kicker right there. And I went on to talk about how, if I don't know you personally, I never want to say that you're lying, but it's probably not realistic. And this is where I want to see how serious the trader is. Because I'll tell you what, over my years, I've accepted the fact that people aren't educated about money. I've accepted that fact, and I don't fully blame the person. I blame kind of society. No one teaches you about money. Fortunately, my father was really good about teaching me about money, how it works, so I have that understanding. But I understand that everyone doesn't fall into that category. Some of you guys are clueless, and that's one of the reasons that so many people fear money. That's a different concept, fearing money and fearing making money. You wouldn't think that's true, but it absolutely is, and think money is evil. But that goes big in that direction, just not understanding money. And I used to operate under the mindset that, hey, I have to save the world. I have to go into my booth. I have to throw on my Superman cape, and I'm going to educate everyone. I'm going to save everyone. No one's going to get scammed again, and blah, 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 like that. But as you can imagine, after being in this coaching industry for so many years, it takes a lot of energy out you. And I'm someone that wants to focus all of my energy in the right direction. I want to use my energy only for positive reasons. And I've found it pointless to try and convince someone of something that they're not willing to listen to, right? So if you have a certain viewpoint and I'm giving you advice and you're open-minded, you're willing to listen, maybe you don't agree with me 100%, but you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense, right? Then I'm willing to work with you and give my opinion. But if you're going to fight me on something and saying, oh, no, this, no, that, you've already made up your mind. And there's no point of me trying to convince you to do it. And that's the impression I started getting from this guy. He said, he asked me if I can invest for him. I said, no, blah, 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 blah. We went on for a little bit of conversation about that. He said, so tell me, how can I make over $500 and how much? And please tell me if it's possible to earn this and that. We won't go into the conversation, but he ended up sending me another message he got where he says, trading gets completed. He said, okay, I will need this is the message he got from someone else. He said, okay, I will need your email and full name to create an account for you. Trading gets completed 3 to 5 business days with an investment of $1,000. You will earn $5,500. Blah, 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 blah. And again, if you understand money, if you have a realistic expectation of what can be returned in the market, or in general, not even in the markets, just in general, you won't fall for stuff like this. Because again, 600% return in 5 days. If you're consistently doing that, that is a 30,000% return in a year. Does that sound any bit realistic? No. And the issue is people don't worry about the percent. They're worried about the number, just the number, right? So let me ask you this, right? If I gave you two scenarios, right? If I said, hey, you give me $100 right now. You give me $100 right now today, and I'm gonna give you $10,000 in return. Versus a scenario where I said, hey, you give me $100 today, and I'm gonna make you 1% a week for the next 20 years. Which option would you take? Again, option number one is you give me $100, I'll give you $10,000 right now. Or option number two, you give me $100 to invest, I'll make you 1% a week for the next 20 years. And let's keep it blank and simple. I know some of you guys are thinking already, well, if you gave me the $10,000 up front, I can invest in this and do that. Let's just make it black and white. There's no other, you're not doing anything else with the money. It's a simple comparison of what is the better deal. Don't even talk about, well, I might die in 10 years or this or that. Again, just take all of that other outside stuff away. Simple comparison. You give me $100 right now, I give you $10,000 in return. Or you give me $100 right now, I promise to invest it and make 1% a week for the next, 20 years. What is the better deal? What is the better deal? Type it in, write it in, shoot me a tweet. What do you think is the better deal? Again, don't overthink it, because that's a whole different conversation. Because I would take the $10,000 up front. Actually, no, I probably wouldn't. Well, as a trader, I would. But anyway, the better deal is the latter. The better deal is the latter, right? Yeah, you give me $100 right now, I'll give you $10,000, right? It seems like a massive amount of money. Ooh, 10,000, that's big, right? 1% a week, that's small. But 1% a week changes pretty quickly, right? And you're not going to see it in your first year, right? First year, your 1% a week is gonna turn into like $160. You're gonna make like a $60 profit for the first year. And you're like, man, I should have kept that 10,000. And don't quote me on the math. I may be off and just doing this in my head, right? I rely on the calculator once anything gets over 10. Once I can't count my fingers. So 1% return a week doesn't really seem like much over, and I think let's say 4% return a month, make it easy. 4% return a month doesn't seem like much over the first year, right? Probably doesn't seem like much over the second year. Third year, probably not. Fourth year, fifth year, right? You probably got to go, up to about 6-7 years, and it's like, man, I'm still under that $10,000 mark, right? I'm making a bad deal here. But as that money compounds, right? Because it's not just 1% off of your initial $100. It ends up being a 1% compounded over what your $100 is producing. So as your $100 becomes $200, now that 1% is 1% off of $200. As that $200 becomes $500, now it's 1% a week off of that $500. And eventually, as you get about 10 years in or so, right? You've blown past that initial $10,000 mark. But the issue is, I bet many people wouldn't take that deal for a few reasons. One, $10,000, right? We put that little squiggly line in front of it, seems so much more than 1%, right? 1%, $10,000. 1%, $10,000, right? $10,000 sounds so powerful, sounds so good. It's a big number. We can relate to what that number is because we understand it. Many people don't understand percentages and compounding, right? We don't know what 1% produces us. But do the math. Do the math. The 1% deal over 20 years is going to be a much bigger number. Now, another problem is patience. People don't have patience, right? Akil, so you're saying, okay, I understand I'm going to make more money doing 1% a week, right? 1% a week for 20 years. I'm going to make a lot more money, but you're telling me I got to wait 20 years till I really start seeing some significant money? I got to wait 10 years before I get to that 10,000 number, right? I don't want to wait 10 years. Well, that's the investment, guys. That's the investment, right? The investment is slowly built up over time. Slowly, you don't see it. It's all underground for the first whatever years, and then boom, suddenly it pops. And this is not just money. This is an investment in family, investment in health, investment as an entrepreneur, right? Most businesses, right? The first 5 years, you're kind of just like try to keep your head above water, and then all of a sudden you become successful. It's like, man, overnight success. How did Akil do that in just the 1 month? Oh, you didn't see the 5 years of struggling, right? I think that mindset of patience isn't there. Everyone wants it now. I shot a portion of this message over on the Twitter earlier today. And one of the responses said, I wish I could find it. I'm blowing up on Twitter now. You know, when you get chosen to be the third most helpful trader on Twitter, everyone wants to shoot you messages. So, you know, my Twitter feed is kind of heavy right now. But someone mentioned something about the American dream. Let me see if I can find it right now. And if you guys are new, I'm not that full of myself. I really am humble. I would say I'm the most humblest person out there in the world. If there was an award for being humble, I'd probably win it, just to give you an idea of how humble I am. But I got a response saying, it's the sad truth. It's the sad, one response said, friend? What type of friend is that? Another guy said, it's the sad truth. Shout out to Jordan Grant, by the way. It's the sad truth. Too many people fall for the American dream, to quote American dream, and want to get rich quick to live it. Makes it hard to look at things without a critical viewpoint at time. And I was initially going to respond like, wait, the American dream? No, man. The American dream is built off of an opportunity. That's the American dream. The American dream is you have an opportunity to establish something, to do whatever you want, to build it and create generational wealth for your family. The American dream is built off of immigrants coming in and having an opportunity to do something that they weren't able to do wherever they came for, and they can set something up that their family can take and really continue building on for the rest of, for generations to come. That's the American dream, right? Eagles, fireworks, apple pies, America, guns, Ford trucks, right? But then I thought about it for a second. And I looked at it and I said, and I actually tweeted him and I'm like, you know what? I think you're right. I guess now the American dream is to make a quick buck. And we got into a little conversation about catching crypto bull rides and social media fame and the quick lawsuit and everything that everyone is doing to make a quick buck. And that has become the new American dream. No one wants to work now. No one wants to kind of get their hands dirty, put the gloves on and get to work. Everyone is looking for the shortcut, and they're much willing to waste more time trying to get rich quick deal and fail versus kind of take their time, establish something of value, and then live off of it forever. Right? I look at that all the time too, and I'm watching TV and I'm looking at different jobs and stuff like that, and I'm asking myself, I'm like, how long does this last? How long does this last? You got for let's say an Instagram model, for example, that sells whatever they're selling, right? Many of these Instagram models or YouTube models, right? They're selling off of good looks, right? Well, what happens when you get older? What happens 10 years from now when, gravity takes effect, right? And, the skin starts sagging a little bit and they're on to the next person. Someone else comes. Well, what do you have? Have you actually built something? Or did you just make a quick buck? Right? Do you have anything that's sustainable? And that's the difference between that get quick rich mentality, that make a quick buck in the market mentality versus an investment, right? An investment is sustainable. You don't get that initial satisfaction at first, up front, but when you look back at it years and years and years later, you're like, man, I made a good decision. And I'll end this with a very good quote, because again, I probably forgot the initial topic and where I was supposed to go with it. I kind of just get off on these rants, but I was reading the newsletter from my good friend Jason Grayson. If you guys aren't subscribed to it, do it right away. It's called the Always Free newsletter. It doesn't cost you a thing, hence the title. And it's a very great reflective newsletter by one of the best businessmen out there, Jason Greystone. It talks about wealth mindset, wealth accumulation, wealth inspiration, really just stuff that's going to make you better in life. And one of his newsletters covered the topic of investing. I forgot which one it was. I'll shoot a link in the show notes if you guys want to subscribe to it, by the way. But it was talking about it was a quote by someone I think who mentored Warren Buffett, who was talking about you want to buy your investments like groceries, not like perfume. And it took me a while to kind of figure out. I'm not a perfume user, but I'm a cologne user. And I'm like, what does that mean? And what that means is that you wanna consistently buy your investments, right? You want to slowly build, right? You want to make it a routine. You want to make it a habit. It needs to be a consistent thing, right? I consistently go to the supermarket every week, and I buy, I acquire. Perfume or cologne, it's kind of like a one-time spend. I'll go to the mall one time, or I go to my wife because she sells it. But let's say I'll go to the mall one time, I buy it, and then I don't do it again for 20 years. And that's the mindset you have to have when investing. You can't just go out there and do one thing in hopes it pays off. You got to do a lot of little things, a lot of small things over and over and over again. You got to acquire a lot of different things over and over and over again consistently. And before you know it, you're going to have that big payoff. So I think the main takeaways from this podcast episode is you got to educate yourself about money. You can't get caught up over the big dollar figure. You can't get caught up over the big kind of in-your-face shiny thing. You got to think about longer term. What is the better deal? Is $10,000 right now better than 1% a week over 20 years? And then once you realize that, you have to be willing to have patience. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Neither is your trading account. Neither is a successful entrepreneur. However, it can be destroyed in a day, easily. So for you guys that are new to trading, for you guys that are new to kind of the entrepreneur mindset or just knowing about money, you got to think about that. Put in the time, put in the effort at first. Don't feel this need to have that instant gratification. Work. Do the math on the back end. Set a long-term goal. In 5 years, if I can be consistent doing this, this is what it's going to produce. And I'll tell you what, you may not get the satisfaction right now. You may not get the glory right now. But as you look back on it 5-10 years later, I guarantee you made the right choice.